highly touted prospects being the best players everywhere they went, their last mission finally proving how good they actually are when they make the NBA. Guaranteed millions for top picks, some lose their motivation for the game after their first extension. Others continue working harder, becoming one of the premier faces of the league, future Hall of Famers. Every class, there's always a few that don't end up panning out. When those players hit rock bottom, fighting for their NBA careers all by their 5th season, some end up going overseas, improve their game, getting another chance, making strides, sticking around for a bit longer. Others, unfortunately, can only live with regret, completely blowing their short window of opportunity, realizing it's all too late. A couple of former big namers might not be in the NBA today, some out the league for years, but a few still hooping. Instead of posting clickbait workout videos, they actually putting in the work. Some of them probably won't suit up again in an NBA uniform, but you can't blame them for not trying. Starting with TJ Warren, 13th pick of the 2014 draft. Many likely think he's in his mid-30s by now, but only 31. Played 9 seasons in the league, king of the NBA bubble. After a bunch of injuries, his stock went downhill from missing the entire 2022 season to making stints in Brooklyn, Phoenix, and Minnesota. One of those players wishing the league would still be playing in the bubble forever, since after leaving Disney, Warren only suited up for 57 total games, 7.3 point average, 16 minutes, after averaging 31 points, 6.3 rebounds, 58% shooting in 6 regular season contests before the 2020 playoffs. Given the New York Knicks absolutely short on depth, Warren can absolutely get a few minutes on a team clearly better than the 9th guy off the bench. He's still 6'8", 220. After the Knicks waived him under the second apron, in the mix to potentially rejoining the club, they have king of second round curse Landry Shamet. Truly an injustice when a guy like TJ, who's better than 20% of the league at the bare minimum, being in the G League. If Tibbs ends up running his players into the ground before the playoffs, they're gonna regret not signing Warren to give them minutes, especially this time of the season. Taking an unconventional route, having consecutive 30-point games, and shooting above 50% against hungry young guys who's playing for the same reason. Warren, one of those players trying to rebuild his career rather than pursuing more lucrative opportunities overseas. What in the world has Landry Shamet given the Knicks? 7 games, 3.3 points? TJ Warren can absolutely do that in his sleep. Jalil Okaf of the Indiana Mad Ants. While James Wiseman remains in the league for now, if healthy, if you had to pick who wins one-on-one, Jalil or Wiseman, the answer is absolutely positively Jalil Okaf. Now 29 years old, labeled one of the biggest busts of the 2010s, was supposed to be one of the faces of the league, but instead, his one-dimensional game didn't translate in the small ball era, but his impact certainly translated in the G League, numbers of 19 and 9, that should be his NBA averages, but way too flawed, not a good rebounder, defender, or passer. Jalil would easily have a 12 to 16 year career in the 90s or 2000s, proving he's way too gifted for the G League. Had he not been drafted by the failed process Sixers and developed properly, Jalil might have already rounded out his game in becoming a 4-year, $50 million type center. Attempting to find a 10-day, you can't name 5 centers with better post moves today. Okafor last played during the 21-22 preseason with Atlanta, toward his Achilles 2022. At least he's trying to expand, attempting over 1-3 a game and improving as a passer, working on the handles while maintaining what he can do well. Had a masterful 38 points, 18 of 21 shooting, way too good on the post against any bigs, much improved step back jumper. Many of the moves he's doing, you would think that's Joel Embiid out there. Seeing his former teammate make $50 million a year, always getting hurt and complaining. Jalil showing lots of heart with his effort, things he lacked while being in the league 4 or 5 years ago. Feeling 100% after the Achilles, being part of the Winter Showcase, looks in way better shape now than in any of his previous NBA days. Will need to continue showing out, showing he's willing to take and make perimeter jumpers as the 3-ball era, not slowing down anytime soon. Trey Burke, the now 32-year-old 6-footer out of Michigan, last played for the 22 Mavericks, out the league at 29, playing for the Mexico City squad. an absolute bucket, 21 a game, 5 dimes, overcame the torn Achilles last year. The closest player with pretty much the same body type and frame as Allen Iverson, but Berg unfortunately don't have the quickness, speed, or handles of AI. Only 30% of what Iverson was. Given today's league with all the analytics, smaller type guards, score first guys who'll be more inefficient than most, simply a turnoff for every front office. From finishing third 2014 Rookie of the Year, a bucket getter, his chances at starting for any NBA teams way over. Only a full-time starter his rookie season before Utah gave up on him. Trey simply doesn't have the freedom to be inefficient, especially for somebody who's coming off the bench, being much hotter from deep, but now a much improved outside shooter. The only scenario a team might be interested in signing him if everybody gets banged up, being the go-to guy with the same scoring instincts and more efficient, his NBA dreams still slightly alive. Kevin Knox. Another player to hit rock bottom, being viewed as one of the league's worst players after his rookie season, the former 9th pick of the 2018 draft just exploded for 39 points for the G League Warriors. Somebody new who can get some minutes for the struggling current Golden State squad. Went 14 of 17 from the field, 6 of 7 from deep. His 13th outing with 20 plus points in a win. Knox averaged 20 and 8. Many Warrior fans would go as far replacing the struggling Brendan Przemski for the unlucky Knox. Matter of fact, Knox still only 25 years old. Frank Kaminsky, the 7-foot 31-year-old, 100% correct about having the time of his life in college. Frank the Tank was indeed at the height of his basketball powers, balled out at Wisconsin, National Player of the Year. He wished he was in college now. Under the NIL era, he'd be making more than the NBA's vet minimum. The best decision of his career remains electing to stay a final year in Wisconsin, led his team to the national title game, when he could have easily been a late first or second round pick after his junior year. Kaminsky probably would have lasted only 2-3 seasons in the NBA then, but by electing to stay, having guaranteed 4-year contract, realized his college experience incomparable, knowing teams like the Bobcats hardly get any fans, seeing firsthand how boring some NBA teams are. To his genius, Kaminsky absolutely correct, ended up with the boring Charlotte Hornets, had a couple double-digit scoring seasons on a bad franchise, made over $22 million after 2023, didn't get much noise, was just another average player at best, nothing more than a 7-foot scorer off the bench, too thin to play the 5, never averaged more than 5 rebounds in a season, was balling out early 2022 year, even scored a career best 31 points, but less than 2 weeks later, injured his knee, never the same, waived, became an afterthought, went to Serbia for a year, now with the Raptors 905 G League squad. After getting cut by Phoenix in lead up to season opener, Kaminsky dominated his second appearance, scoring 33, 7 boards, 5 dimes. Maybe the Suns could have taken their chances on the vet, now being 3 games under 500 instead of having guys like Bo. Kaminsky one of those players who can drop 25 in a random January game unexpectedly. If the NBA had 2 more teams right now for expansion, a couple of these guys likely be on a roster. Given they gave terrible early impressions and now old enough, many front offices seen enough, being afterthoughts and no longer young enough to be promising. Sure, guys like Jalil Okaf and TJ Warren way more talented than many 10-man on a team, but their skill sets simply not what most teams need. How many of these former lottery picks will we see suit up for another shot at the National Basketball Association? Only time will tell, but one thing for sure, the journey of these 5 players ain't over yet.